Don't you wish you had a roadmap to a happier and more prosperous life? On episode 720 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Rand Selig and discuss his book, Thriving: How to Create a Healthier, Happier, and More Prosperous Life. Welcome to the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, the largest and longest running health and fitness podcast dedicated to people over 40. Whether you're looking to lose weight, get stronger, or improve your health and age better, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Coach Allan, an online health and fitness coach and author of The Wellness Roadmap. Each week, we dive into practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and fitness. If you're ready to look, feel, and perform your best, no matter your age, this podcast is the perfect place to start. Let's get you on the path to a healthier, fitter, and more energetic version of yourself. I hope you'll join us each week, and together we can unlock your full potential. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast. I'm Coach Allan, your host. I'm really glad you're here. We've got a really good episode for you here. If you really want to kind of get some good content on how to organize, how to basically design a better life, I think Rand is a great person for you to get in touch with. Not much to report for me, but if you've ever sold a house, then you know what I've been up to for the past week or so. A lot of packing, lifting, carrying. You kind of get the picture there. It's hard work, but I'm glad I'm fit for task to do it. I do the things that are necessary to make sure that I have the fitness to do the things in my life that I need to do. And sometimes that includes packing up and moving a house. Not fun, but necessary. And I'm pretty excited again. We're moving forward and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's good. Anyway, let's get on with our episode. Our guest today is an accomplished entrepreneur, coach, scoutmaster, board member, and roll-up-your-sleeves conservationist. With an MBA from Stanford and undergraduate degrees in mathematics and psychology, he excels at managing complex projects globally. He is relentlessly positive and believes we can all design a life that has us thriving. With no further ado, here's Rand Selig. Rand, welcome to 40 Plus Fitness.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
So the name of your book, Thriving: How to Create a Healthier, Happier, and More Prosperous Life. At the end, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody, but I define wellness as being the happiest, fittest, the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. So obviously I have already kind of connected the fact that happiness and healthiness and pretty much how your life goes really defines you and the life that you're living. And so this book is like, it's so practical, it's so many times people write a book and they get into the science of why happiness is the most important thing for you to, and then I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but
now
how?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell us how.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those comments, Allan. It's true. I mean, I've gotten huge feedback, lots and lots of reviews, great testimonials. And, the how came about as a subtitle by my content editor. I had Thriving. There was no doubt about that, and with the exclamation mark. But then I was working through the subtitle, and he said, it has to be a how. It has to be a how. I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Well, and I get it because that's actually what the book does, and that's what they tell you when you're writing your book is that the title itself can be creative. The title itself can kind of get people's attention, but it's the subtitle that has to get into the meat of what they're going to get out of it. So he was right.
Good.
All right. Now, in the book, you went into 8 character strengths. In fact, you said there were 7, and then you had your own that you're adding to the list, the last one, which I think is actually probably as important. They're all just as important as each other. So could you take us through the 8 character strengths and why they're important?
Yeah. Now, these, just as a background, this is a research study. that suggested what these personal qualities were that led to life satisfaction and achievement. So these are important, not just for, hey, having some fun, but getting on with life that matters. So, I don't think there are a particular order to these, but so one is zest, which we all know means excitement, enthusiasm, energy, and it means minimizing the negative. Very important. Grit, which of course is resilience, persistence, being mentally tough. I attribute so much of my business career to having grit. Very, very key. Optimism, being positive, cheerful. Very interesting. Research shows that it adds 8 to 9 years to your life. And I think they're not just years. I think they're happier years. And it gives you power, where as being pessimistic diminishes your power. There's curiosity, which makes life fun. It's part of being a lifelong learner, and it allows you to enjoy new and unexpected things. Of course, there's gratitude. Got to have gratitude in this list. Being thankful, showing appreciation, and very interesting, it leads to being generous. There's self-control, which is exercising restraint over ourselves, our emotions, our desires, our actions, and our impulses, especially at difficult times. There's social intelligence, which is the ability to communicate and form relationships. And it's a balance between empathy and assertiveness. So again, a really important ingredient. And my last one, which I added by myself, here I am, the big published author, and I add humor. But there's two kinds of humor. One is humor about the situation. The story I tell is, hey, you're driving home, it's rush hour, and it's going much slower than usual. Why? You finally get to the point where the construction workers are on the side of the road during rush hour. And you go, oh my gosh, you could be really upset about it. You could be frustrated, or you could just laugh. Oh, ha ha, there they are again. But you can also have humor about yourself. Oh, there I am, Rand, doing that thing again. I said I wouldn't, but ha ha, here I am doing it again. Laugh at yourself. It just lightens the thing. So those are the 8. Again, they lead to life satisfaction and achievement.
Yeah. Now, there's a comedian that I'm very fond of. His name is Jamie Farr, and one of the things he said in one of his talks is he does the kind of stand up where he's interacting with the crowd, and someone's asked him about the secret to secret to success, secret to happiness, and he said is basically not wanting more, not expecting more than what you have. And
Wow.
and I thought, well, that's very Buddhist, and way to approach it. And I'm like, that's excellent. But the thing is, there's so many people, and it's so easy today in the world of social media and everything to feel like you're a victim. And as I went through these 8, I'm like, if you practice these 8 characteristics, you can't have a victim complex.
Well, the basic storyline for my book is that we can all get on the path to thriving if we make choices. And the choices are very, very powerful people. We can make choices about how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, what our habits are. You got to look at both the good habits and the bad ones, and also our emotions. And so this victim thing that you just mentioned, Allan, is one of those where, there are a lot of people who feel that. And they can always point and say, oh, it happened because, well, no, you got to take responsibility. You got to work through and get around the problems that you're facing. You got to take control. You got to be, I hold up my double-decker bus and I say, who's driving your bus? If you're driving your bus, then you're deciding how fast to go, when to stop, when to turn right, when to turn left. Very importantly, who to invite on your bus. And sometimes you got to invite people off your bus.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the key of it. And it kind of goes back to the it's really not what's happening to you. It's your perception of it. And you went into that in the book as well. We decide how we're going to respond to the world
Exactly.
around us. And yes, good things happen and bad things happen. And sometimes
Right.
we earned it and sometimes we didn't. But if we take responsibility for what we can do
Yeah.
and basically accept that sometimes things aren't going to go our way, but we can respond in a positive move forward way,
Yeah.
that's really going to always be the best case scenario for us.
Well, and the reality is that life is filled with endings and beginnings, and in the middle of that is transitions. They can be very hard because they're new. You're leaving something that you are familiar with. It may not have been working, but at least you knew what it was all about. You're going into some new territory, whether it's a relationship or some kind of work or whatever you're doing, and so that's daunting for a lot of people. I say, hey, the answer to this that'll give you a lot of energy is just think about life as a series of eighth grade science experiments. Sometimes they work the first time really well. Sometimes they don't work until you tweak them. And sometimes they don't work out at all. So if you go about your life just realizing, around the corner is another thing you've got to experiment with, it's going to give you some power and some energy.
Now, in the book, obviously, kind of the concept here is we're in midlife, and so this is the point where a lot of us are going through changes and things that are going on in our world. Our kids maybe are getting older and moving out and doing their things, and so a lot of life changes happening right now. And for a
Yeah.
lot of people, it's also when you're. I'm not going to say you're at the crest, but you're in your career. You typically know what you're doing, but a lot of people still use that as an opportunity and say, I want to do something different. This isn't
Mhm.
appealing to me.
Mhm.
And I just thought that was important because when we talk about aging well, I think
Mhm.
most of us, our head goes straight to health and fitness. Well, if I'm stronger, if I'm not in as much pain, if I'm not having illness, if I'm not taking the medications, those are important. But you
Mhm.
dove deeper into aging well. Can you kind of go into that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Alan. Yeah, aging well is not about longevity, it's about vitality. And so, besides the things that you've mentioned, the physical things, the nutrition and sleeping well, and hopefully having on your team some good people who can help you with nutrition and other things, there are what I call the 10 keys to aging well, and these are really psychological. So I can walk you and your listeners through them. It starts with being positive. We talked about that before. It was one of those 8 items that I mentioned. Having purpose. Wow, I've spoken at many retirement homes, and I say, yeah, it's really important to age well. You have to have purpose. And people look at me and say, well, I'm here. My purpose is to wake up tomorrow and have a yummy lunch. And I go, hey, I'm delighted you're here, and I know you're going to have a yummy lunch, but there's some myths about purpose. One is that it has to be headline grabbing. It has to be a big thing. And that's not true at all. That's a myth. Your purpose can be just what matters to you. So I say, consider this. What about if your purpose was to be kind and respectful and a good listener? And that when somebody moves into your retirement home and you could go to them and say, hey, I've been here 3 years and you're new. If there's anything I can do to make your experience here better, just let me know. I'd be delighted to be that person for you. And they look at me and go, wow, now I have something I'm excited about. Number 3 is being grateful. Again, one of the things we talked about with life satisfaction and achievement. Curiosity is also one of those. Got to be curious. Curious makes life fun. And there's an added bonus to being curious, and it's with conflict resolution. So imagine you're having a conversation with somebody. Maybe they're a friend you've known for a long time. Maybe they're not, you're not very close to them, but they start talking about something that you just completely disagree with. I mean, you're holding your fists are tightening up. You just can't believe it. You really want to yell, I don't agree with that. That's terrible. Well, if you have an outburst like that, the chances of you listening anymore to them or them listening to you is very little. And the ability, you can harm the relationship too. So instead, if you decide I'm going to be curious and you say to yourself, and actually say that, I'm curious, how did you get to believe or think that? But mean it sincerely, not how did you get to think that, you idiot? No. And then they'll explain what they're thinking about, and you follow up with a few more questions. It just brings out the story for them. You don't have to weigh in with your opinion. If they're interested, they could ask you, but just bring the temperature down. So being curious, very powerful. Humor, again, I added that to my other list. There are three that are really important, Allan, for their emotional health. One is to stop self-sabotaging. Wow, it's amazing the number of people who just say, oh, I can't do that, or there's no point in applying for that. They won't take me. I don't personally experience that, but I saw it when I was a math major in college. I was a tutor, and people would come in within 30 seconds. They would say, I'm not good at math. So I'd work through some problems with them. Then I'd say, will you try it? I'd give them some hints. And then I'd say, okay, we've worked through like 20 problems. You do it now yourself. And they'd work them through and they'd go, wow, math is fun. I like it. In a very short period of time, their confidence was built and they moved away from being self-sabotaging. They got in the game. Another one of these emotionally healthy things is to forgive. I mean, who is running around who hasn't had something happen where they felt they deserved an apology and they didn't get it? I mean, I have not met that person yet. Send them my way, Allan, if you do. Find them. So what I recommend is, whether they're in your life still or whether they're gone and off the planet, write it down. There's nothing short of the power of writing something down. Write down what happened. Write down how you felt. That's different than how they made you feel. It's you accepted those feelings. Write down, I deserved an apology that I didn't get. Take a pause, take a breath, and then make the giant leap forward. I forgive you. It's like taking a big boulder out of your backpack or your suitcase and tossing it on the ground. You're not carrying it around with you. You also have to do the same thing with yourself. Who has not made mistakes? Things they've done that, wow, that was not the best person I could have been. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it today, but I certainly did it whenever that was. And these things can carry on for decades even. So if you can forgive yourself, it's going to add to your ability to age well. Then there's letting go. Of all these three emotionally healthy things, this was the hardest for me because, I've had a big career. I've done amazing things in my life. And I thought that was happening because I was in control. But thanks to my wife, I'm coming up on 45 years of marriage with her, and two amazing children. They showed me, Dad, you're not controlling as much as you think you are. And so I looked at that and I realized I was only controlling four things. Only four things. One, I was controlling my attitude. Two, I was controlling the amount of effort I was willing to put into something. Three, I was controlling my behavior. Well, usually. And then four, I was making the decisions about what actions I chose to take. So those are four. After that, with other people, it's only about influence. If I handle myself well, my influence goes up. If I handle myself poorly, influence shrinks. So that gets us to number 9 on this list of 10, friends of all ages. I learned this from my father. My father was a towering figure. He died a year ago at age 102. Peacefully in his sleep, and we buried him at Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors. He fought in World War II, in Korea and Vietnam. A very highly decorated fellow, served his country well. And one of the things he told me was, you need to have friends of all ages. And I'd call him, and we'd have a conversation. He says, I have to run in about 5 minutes because a friend, Bill, is coming over. I said, who's Bill? He says, oh, he's like a 39-year-old fellow that I met about 6 months ago. And it was clear they were friends. Bill would be interested in my father, would do things for my father, and vice versa. So friends of all ages, very, very important, especially as we get older. Unfortunately, most people have friends who they met in school. They're about their own age, plus or minus 5 years. And it's really valuable to have people half your age or people who are older than you are. You learn different things. There's different ways they express themselves.
Yeah, I don't think your father was going to find very many friends over his age at 102. Maybe a couple,
true.
but not a lot. But I get you.
True.
I get you.
And then number 10, this is a powerhouse ending for this, is being love. Being love. It's not the Hollywood having love or feeling love. If you have that, I'm happy for you. I do. But being love is those things of how you are as a person. Are you being a good listener? Are you being kind? Are you being respectful? How are you navigating when I have a cup of coffee? Of course I thank the person who brings me the cup of coffee. And if I've seen them, a second time, I ask their name and I compliment them. That's a really nice, cool shoes you're wearing. Something. Just everybody has their story and everybody wants to be acknowledged. So that's a big thing. Being love is not so hard. It's just opening your eyes, your heart, your intention to engage in that way. If you do these 10 things, I don't know if you'll get to older than my dad or my mom's turning 100. I don't know, but I think they're going to be much better years. And and people around you are going to appreciate you more.
Well, in the end, when we think about it, longevity has its place we should think about and care about a little, but it's really the quality. And that's what you're talking about here is making the years that you do have the highest quality they can be. And the interesting thing is all those things that you listed, all 10 of them, are within our control.
So right. This is why I come back to this enormous power we have to get on this path to thriving. Things are in our control. And when they're not immediately in our control, we can work to make them that way.
You got into a lot of emotions in the book, and
yeah.
I would actually love to sit down and just pick your brain on all of them. Unfortunately, this is a podcast. We don't have that kind of time, but I want to touch on one that I really do think, particularly in this day and age, has an out of context, out of proportion impact on our lives.
Yeah.
And it's because everything around us sells it like it's what we have to have to survive. And it's actually probably one of the worst enemies to thriving that's out there, and that's fear.
Yes. And it's subtle, but it's also a choice. Are you going to be optimistic or are you going to be fearful? The thing about fear that is so insidious is it comes automatically. It comes uninvited. And most often I suggest that your listeners think about this. How often is it sort of made up from imaginary things that have not happened? You're just worried about the future, but that future may not be the future that's going to be happening. Not that you shouldn't take action to do the best you can, but a lot of this is imagined stuff. And they're actually, and I talk about in my book, 3 categories of fear. There's a guy, Patrick Lencioni, talked about this. One is fear of losing. So fear, we have this mental mind map, a lot of people, of constantly comparing yourself. And that's a no-win proposition, and it's not a healthy thing. You just want to be comparing yourself to yourself. It's like Ernest Hemingway said, nobility is not being superior to your fellow man. It's being true nobility is being superior to your former self. So that's the comparison that you want to be making. So fear of losing, fear of being embarrassed. Oh my gosh. What are we, 8 years old? Come on, get on with it. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're doing your best and that Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets up and bombs. Again, back to the experiment thing. And then there's fear of feeling inferior. Again, this comparison thing. So these fears are manageable. I say throw them out. If you see them coming, just reject it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to look at it. You have to stare it down. Make it go away.
Yeah. One of the fears, and it fits in there, but it's kind of bits and pieces of all of them that I see quite often is it's a fear of failure, but it's a fear that's based on a single experience or something that happened or something they were told. For example, like, they tweaked their knee doing a squat, and they talk to their doctor, and the doctor says, well, if you hurt your knee doing squats, don't do squats.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems like a reasonable thing, but now they're afraid
Right.
to do squats.
Yeah.
And because they're afraid that that's going to hurt, now it's like, well, I really probably shouldn't be doing any of this weightlifting stuff because, well, I'm afraid that it's going to hurt. That I'm going to wear out a joint and I'm going to, faster than I should. And I'm not going to say that those fears are completely, irrelevant. Yes, if you're doing bad squats, don't do them anymore. But there's probably a safe way you can do it. And so we're not looking for a way around the fear, if you will. So the fear is real.
Yeah.
And there's a basis to it, but we're not really like actively saying I can beat this by learning a better way to do what I'm trying to do.
Learn a better way. Yeah, so right. There's a special kind of fear that I think we should chat about, and that's the fear of dying. It occupies a lot of people, especially as they get a little bit older. You got to look at that. I've read many books on dying, just because I've had these parents who amazing longevity, and I've been on a hospital board, and so this issue of health and dying is part of life, and we have to just get acquainted with the fact that, yes, there's going to be a time when we are not going to be here. And I think the antidote for concern about that is to writing down what it is that you want your legacy to be. What kind of person, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about what you leave in the hearts of other people. As I say, don't focus on carving your name on a piece of marble on your tombstone. Carve it on people's hearts now. And so if you write down your legacy, then you can start living it now. You can be that person now and keep polishing it, working at it, so that, it is leaving a great legacy for somebody. And at some point they may not quite remember your name, but they remember how they felt about that message. Very, very important.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really astute that you had in there. It's kind of writing, I forget the exact word you used, but it was basically not a living will, but sort of
ethical
will. Yeah. I thought that was a great idea. Can you go a little bit into that?
Yeah. Well, ethical will is not a very common thing. It's not the lawyer thing. It's not about, getting all the taxes right and how to disperse the money, which is what, the estate planning world is all about. That's it. That can be important too. But this is a thing. It's a letter, basically. Can be a short, can be a 1, 2, 3-page letter. You give it to people you love, friends and family. And it's basically what you wish for them and what you hope that you've given to them in the way of a way to live, what you've taught them. It can be. I wrote my first one 20 years ago, and I told my children and my wife that I had it, but I didn't give it to them. And then as my book came out, I said, now's the time. And I gave it to them. They cried. I said, I'm not going anywhere. Don't get worried. But I want you to know now what it is that's in my ethical will. And I might revise it, and I'll at some point give it to my grandchildren. They're too young now to really appreciate it, but at some point that'd be a really good thing. You got to make some decisions, of course, what you say. You can revise it. That's easy peasy. Again, it's a letter. It doesn't have to be witnessed. It doesn't have to go through any complicated thing. You got to decide, when's the right time to give it to somebody, who to give it to. Maybe it's a big moment in their life, their wedding, an anniversary, something like that. And you got to decide also, where it's going to be. If they lose their copy, if they don't have their copy, where is it in terms of your papers that for sure they'll be able to access.
Yeah. And that's kind of one of the things I was thinking is, there's all the times we say, well, I could see it. Things happen to us, and it was like, I wish I would have said this. Particularly we lose friends. We're at the age where we're actually losing friends.
Yes,
and it's like I wish I had. And so this sort of, I'm not going to say it completely eliminates it, but at least from that perspective, if you didn't say it, you've put it down somewhere where after you're gone, it can be said.
Yes,
which I think is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm trustee for a number of friends' estates. And one of the things I'm really encouraging them to do is to think beyond the money, think to who in their life that matter to them, and then do this ethical will business. And also in terms of the normal trust, think about bequests. I have a friend, he said, well, that person doesn't need any money. I said, Bob, it's not about the money. It's about you need to write a letter to them, a little note. It doesn't have to be very long. And then just, write a check, maybe $1,000. I don't know. That's up to you. So they can go enjoy themselves and maybe be thinking about the beautiful relationship that you've had and how much they mean to you and you meant to them. And Bob looked at me when I told him that. He says, I'm going to do it. Thank you. That's an amazing gift. Sometimes we just think of, parceling out our dough to, a couple of people, the family, but we forget about these other really important people that have mattered to us in our lives.
Yeah. And it could be something as simple as, well, we used to go to football games. So here's some money to go buy football tickets.
Yeah.
Get yourself a hotel room.
Right.
Go watch a football game and remember the times we had at those games.
That's right.
What I want for you. That's what I want for me. And that's my ethical will. And then so from that perspective, you're showing them the respect of the relationship and what it meant to you.
Yeah.
And all those things.
Well, I think there's one more point that I want to make here. A lot of people get all upset, and for a long time after somebody they've really cared for, loved, has died, passed away. And I understand that. Well. But what's happened is a kind of strange physics. The body's not here, but the soul has not gone away. The soul, you can, every time you think about that person, you maybe have a little conversation in your head with them, they're there with you. Their soul is there with you. So if that helps people in a situation leading up to or after it's happened, I hope that's helpful. It's helped me, and it's helped a lot of people that I've talked to about that. It's just a device. We think of the physical nature of things, but the last few years of life might not be the kind of physical thing you want to remember, but the other person, earlier, different, the football game, what have you. That's the person.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rand, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Well, thanks for suggesting I think about that, because I had to pare it down. Yeah. But number 1 is take care of yourself. Self-care. Wow. Yes, of course, it's the physical things and exercise and nutrition and sleeping well. But in addition to that, it's just taking moments every day to rest, to go out in nature, to be by yourself. Turn off all the gadgets, turn off all the noise, There are many ways to do self-care. Again, it's a personal kind of thing. You got to see what you need and then take care of that. But it's more than the physical. I mean, as much as physical is important, there's the emotional component. There's spiritual component too. Very important, self-care. Number 2 is the emotional health. We've talked about those 3 things already. The stop self-sabotaging, forgive yourself and others, and letting go. And I think that this is aided enormously by journaling. Now, some people journal every day, all the time. I journal when I'm stuck, when I'm really kind of confused. There's so many things going on that I can't really quite grasp what all the factors are. So I sit down quietly, write it down. I can break it down to the parts. I can see what role I played in this situation, what role somebody else played. I can then map out a strategy. Maybe I need to apologize. Maybe I need to just stop talking about that thing, whatever it is. So emotional health, number 2. And then number 3 is relationships. Got to build relationships. I talk in my book about an architecture of building deeper and more enduring relationships. It's possible. It adds so much. Adding new people to your life, back to the bus, who's on your bus. Be intentional about it. This is your life. I have told my wife and kids as they walk up the stairs to, head off to the day, I say, this is up to you. What life do you want to have today? So relationships really count enormously. So that's it. Self-care, emotional health, building relationships.
Thank you, Rand. If someone wanted to learn more about you, learn more about your book, Thriving, where would you like for me to send them?
I think the best would be to go to my book website, which is randselig.com, RANDSELIG.com. And I'm very pleased to announce that my audiobook is now available on pre-order, coming out on November 10th for you get your own copy. And of course, if you have an Audible account, it's free. Amazon's making all this stuff free on a trial basis. It's free on a trial. And then you say after the trial, no more audiobooks for me. That's okay. You can get your copy free. And I've listened to the book. It's very different than reading it. Although there are many exercises in the book, I'm hoping the audiobook people, go through the exercises too.
Yeah, they're extremely valuable. I'm going to agree with you there. I think sitting down and using it more like a workbook.
Yeah,
there's a lot of value to doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Allan.
Well, Rand, thank you so much for being a part of 40 Plus Fitness.
Well, Allan, you're a great host. It's been a pleasure. We've chatted about some really important goodies.
All right. If you enjoyed today's show, take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you would, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast player of choice. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Chris Nahara and discuss his book, The Hard Truth, Stopping Alcohol. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.